Seen a lot of people say that the graph view in Obsidian is basically useless. It looks pretty, but it doesn't do very much. But I have the opposite opinion. I think it's one of the most valuable features for thinking, for connecting ideas, and just having a deeper understanding of the topic matter, especially with my application with the Zettelkasten method. So let me show you what I mean. So earlier today I was doing some reading and I made this note: our behavior is dominated by our emotions. And subsequently then I did a lot of elaboration on these notes. So basically putting it in my own words and connecting with different ideas. So these purple sentences are actually links and connections to different notes. And then I do my best to connect it to all of the different ideas within my second brain or entire lattice network of knowledge. And then what I like to do is go to my graph view. Now, at first thought, it does look like a huge mess because it looks like there's a huge number of connections. Where is it? How is it even possible to find where everything is? Well, that's actually the beauty of the system, because you don't actually presuppose where the notes will go. You just kind of let it form its own connections. And I've got this entry node here: strengths and weaknesses of the human brain. See, that takes us to where our note is here. And in terms of how I like to use it, is I like to use the note as a start and then go and have an explore of the connections or the lines of thought to see if there are other connections that I may have missed. So for example, if I say our behavior is dominated by emotions, and then we go to this point here: having fun or flow state is more important than discipline for good work. We're saying because our emotions are so important, that means we have to line our emotional brain to have fun along with our high level rational goals and making sure they're aligned. And then we see here a different connection from this point: having fun, flow state is more important for good work. We see here it's being flexible is essential to progress. And then that actually sparked a little light bulb moment. Because if we go back to our brain, our behavior is dominated by our emotions. One of the points being made here is that by and large, our emotions are not flexible. Like, feeling emotions is completely involuntary. However, on the flip side of that, our rational brain has the ability to be really flexible. We can take on ideas, we can reject ideas, and then thinking about that interconnection between our emotional brain and in our high level brain. So then basically that triggered that light bulb moment. So what I would do is, because I went into my graph view, I can now go into here and add another connection. So I can say our emotions are not that flexible. However, a power of a high level brain is flexibility. So now if we go back to our graph view, if we find where it is here, so strengths and weaknesses of the human brain, our behavior is dominated by emotions. And now we have a direct connection between these 2 points: our brain being dominated by emotions to being flexible is essential to progress. And it's constantly through this process of playing around with this graph view and just for fun, following these connections, following different arguments, following different lines of thoughts, where like a lot of new connections will emerge. And as you form new connections, like new thoughts will sprout from those. And that's basically how I'm using it.